honestly, I cannot clap and sing at the same time. And so I quickly got fired from any kind of drill leadership because it was just atrocious. It was atrocious. And I like it's embarrassing. Welcome to the Military Bottom Line podcast, where we learn from veterans and those currently serving how to make the most out of a military contract. We're here to motivate, inspire, and help you leverage your service to positively impact you professionally, personally, and financially during your military career and beyond. Welcome to episode 42, now it is, of the Military Bottom Line podcast. 42. Wow. I am super grateful for you guys to be tuning in yet again. It is another opportunity this week for me to share another portion of my story. So a little bit different this week, no guest, mostly because life is very busy right now. My wife and I just had our first kid, and so things are, things are hectic, things are busy, and there's a lot going on, and so I just figured this week it would be easier to just do something by myself and tell you guys a little bit more about my story, the next part of it, and not have to schedule in a guest and an interview. So I hope you guys are okay with that. I hope you guys are okay with hearing more about me and my time in the Marine Corps. And as I've said before, if you're just tuning in now, the times I don't have a guest, I still want to put something out every week. So I will be basically just telling a little bit more of my story each time this happens. But other than that, I will continue providing a new guest each week who has done something different, unique, and something hopefully that you guys can benefit from through their military experience as an example to how they got the most out of their contract. So before we get started on my story, I kind of want to once again thank you all for tuning in. This has been an awesome ride, and 41 episodes in, it's kind of crazy to think about. So I'm grateful for you guys contributing to the podcast, contributing to the community on YouTube and Instagram, and I'm really grateful for everybody that's tuning in and giving me feedback. With that said, I do want to thank you to I've got 8 ratings on Apple right now. So if you guys feel so inclined to leave a review on Apple Podcasts, that would be awesome. Would really appreciate it. But I also want to draw attention to one I received the other day, who left a nice review about episode 38 and kind of mentioned that they would like to connect. But unfortunately, I don't have the means to connect based on a review I receive. It does not provide any contact information. All I can see is that it's from an English professor. If you're listening to this, I would love to connect with you and chat more. So I really appreciate you leaving a review. I just want to be able to go full circle, because that's what I love most about this, is being able to communicate with you all. So if you want to reach out to me, if you want to get direct contact with me, the best way to do that is through Instagram direct messaging at Military Bottom Line. The other option for that is to send me an email, militarybottomline@gmail.com. Episode 31, so just over 10 episodes ago, is when I did not have a guest last. And I kind of just rambled about my story a little bit as to why I joined. So if you're interested in hearing the first part of that, or of my story, just go check out episode 31. I know I left you guys all on a little bit of a cliffhanger last time, as I kind of realized like I'm trying to cut this into segments. So I will I will pick up where I left off, and I don't script these, I don't write these beforehand. So bear with me as I kind of just go down the next part of my story. I know I left off with almost telling you guys what my MOS was, but we're gonna kind of back up a little bit before that and just talk about my boot camp experience a little bit and how that went. I left for boot camp January 3rd, 2011. So right after the holidays, which I think was a good time. It was better than leaving right before the holidays. New year, new year, new me kind of crap. So was able to kind of start the new year off strong and ship out to boot camp. I remember that being pretty emotional. I definitely had those moments where I was like, "Oh crap! Like this is all of a sudden very real." And despite me being in the delayed entry program for like 10 months, um, like I was ready to go, but when it came time to leave, and my family gets emotional, and I get emotional, and it's like, ah, crap! What am I doing? I should just stay here. Thankfully, thankfully, I didn't fall through with that thought. But yeah, so I remember going down to boot camp. Most of it was a blur. You yellow footprints, you're running around. I remember not, the first 36 hours or so, you don't really sleep, so everybody gets on the same clock. And everybody from different time zones comes in, and so they can all sleep when they finally get the opportunity to. One thing I didn't know, that if you are leaving for boot camp soon, is that your receiving drill instructors are not the same as your actual drill instructors. So, while yes, the first 36, 48 hours are pretty hectic, um, it's, there's a lot to get done. So they're less focused on um, molding you and shaping you and, harassing you per se, and more focused on like getting you processed in, getting you your uniforms, your gear, all this stuff. So um, I remember thinking like, oh, this isn't that bad. It's just a lot of yelling. Um, but I didn't know that there was a difference between receiving drill instructors and like my actual drill instructors. So the first week was a lot of processing and nothing too crazy. But I remember when when my drill instructors came in, it was chaos. The first day they came in, I think it's like 4 or 5 days into it. Um, Chaos. Like they just tear apart the squad bay. Racks are tipped over. Your foot locker is dumped out. It's just like a hurricane went through. I'm sure if you looked online, you could find a couple of pictures of a squad bay turned upside down by the drill instructors. But that kind of set the tone for like what that relationship was going to be like, and what that boot camp experience was going to be like. With that said, I mean, I think it's different for everybody, based on your experiences in your life. It's gonna impact the way you react to those types of things. So I was never a troublemaker growing up. Like I just did what I was told, and that was helpful when it came time for boot camp. I just did everything I was told. I didn't complain. I didn't talk back. And because of that, I, like I used to feel self conscious about it, but I never got individually IT'd. IT, I'm trying to remember, stands for like individual training or something like that. So basically, where the DI drill instructor calls you out individually, specifically, they take you over to the sand pit, and they smoke you for a bit. A lot of push ups, a lot of mountain climbers, a lot of jumping jacks, things like that. A lot of getting sandy. It's not that fun. And then on top of that, you just kind of get sandy for the rest of the day, and so that's not fun either. Um, but because I wasn't a troublemaker. I did what I was told. I went above and beyond in every opportunity I could. I never got individually called out. So whenever I got IT'd, it was all within a group, whether it be our entire platoon or 3, 4 of us that kind of just get tacked on to whoever whoever the numbnuts is that did the offense in the first place. So I've actually had a couple people on the podcast who were in boot camp with me. One of them was episode 4, Ethan Wormel, who was an embassy security guard, and the other one was episode 7, who was a C-130 crewmaster. And so those are both still friends of mine, and we went to boot camp together and remain in touch. And so if you kind of want to get a little bit more of an idea of boot camp, I know we talk about it a little bit in those episodes. But I just remember, I mean, I remember like it wasn't as bad as I thought about it. it was going to be. You paint a picture in your head expecting it to be like the worst thing ever. Um, but it was honestly a lot of fun. I learned a lot. I pushed myself and met a ton of new people and had experiences that I never would have had otherwise. And I'm not like, I'm not trying to like reminisce and talk about boot camp. The only reason I want to talk about boot camp is because of an opportunity that I did not know existed going in. That opportunity is opportunity for promotion, essentially. So, depending on your history when you go to enlist, you may be able to get like contract for E2, maybe even E3 if you're like a Boy Scout or an Eagle Scout, or if you have college credits, or there are just different opportunities to get a contract for a higher rank, or like from the get go, which is semi significant. It kind of puts you ahead 6 months to a year, depending on what rank you're able to contract in as. So, like, it's not like all of a sudden you're the boss, but having that ability to kind of start ahead of your peers, if you desire to make the military a long term career and a long term commitment, it can have a positive long term impact. But the opportunity that I didn't know existed was for meritorious promotion. Um, I didn't even know what it was. So basically, promotions in the military happen typically on a schedule. So like the first, I believe it's like they all kind of eventually will happen. Um, but there's like typically a minimal requirement. You have to be, an E2 for like 6 months, then an E3 for like 18 months or something. Don't quote me on this. I'm probably butchering it, but there are time requirements and before you get promoted, and so meritorious promotions are opportunities to basically skip that time requirement and get promoted ahead of your peers. So I remember at the closing of boot camp, at like what some of probably within the last week. If I remember correctly, it was after the Crucible, and then you have Marine Week. And I remember our senior drill instructor, came out, and like at this point, it's kind of more like mentorship. They're not harassing you anymore. You've completed the Crucible. You've earned the Eagle Globe and Anchor. And I remember him he was giving us a whole pep talk and saying that like there's opportunity for I think two meritorious PFC private first class E2. So I did not get a contract promotion. I went in as E1 and worked my way up from there. So he basically said there was opportunity, a select two people basically to get a meritorious promotion out of boot camp. And so obviously the ones that were already E2s based on their contract were kind of out of the running for that. And instead of the senior drill instructor making that decision on his own, I'm sure he had people in mind, but he basically said, if you feel like you deserve that promotion, step forward. And so I kind of had this moment where it's like thinking back to all the times during boot camp and not even like thinking like, oh, this is what I did to deserve it necessarily, but recognizing that I got picked on a lot by my senior drill instructor for good things. So he'd call me out a lot and use me as an example. And so, not not in an egotistical way or narcissistic way. Like I wasn't great at a lot of stuff. Like I was a squad leader for like a day, but I have no rhythm, and so I can't I can't clap and sing at the same time. So the responsibility of setting the tone, was it squad leader or guide? I can't even remember. Um, but to put the responsibility on me to set the tempo and set, um, you know, basically lead the platoon with marching, was just bad. Like I had to be able to look down at whoever was in front of me, kind of with my eyeballs to see like make sure I'm on the right foot because honestly, I cannot clap and sing at the same time, and so I quickly got fired from any kind of drill leadership because it was just atrocious. It was atrocious. And I like it's embarrassing, but at the end of the day, drilling isn't all that matters. So I was glad that I didn't, have to maintain a guide or squad leader position because of my poor drilling ability and my poor tempo and rhythm. But it was oftentimes during like PT and rucks that I made my appearance known. And so, like I said in the last episode, I was kind of a little bit of a runt, 5'8", 5'6", whatever I was, maybe 150 pounds. I was a pretty small kid, but I put in the work, and so when a lot of other people were falling out of these rucks and, PTs and stuff like that, like I'd basically fall the back and I'd be the one like kind of pushing the people in the back. I would take their rifles so they could like, I don't know, figure out whatever their problem was to push on. And so those were the things that I did to get noticed rather than you know, anything with drill because that was not my strong suit. So basically I just recall those times that I was um brought up for good things and knew that my senior drill instructor, um, he liked me to an extent. And this might not be the most like politically correct thing, but this is the story and how it happened. So I'm just gonna tell you anyways. I remember during the Crucible, where so my senior drill instructor, he was a large black man, and like I mean he was jacked, he was huge, and somehow like the joke that I was his son came about because he like favored me and like would I don't know, I don't think he ever like hooked me up, but like he yeah he was good to me. And I don't know why, like I just because I put out on PT and he was a big PT guy, and so like if you could push yourself physically, I think that mattered to him more than a lot of other things. So I think that that's kind of how I got in that position and got his favor that way. So somehow it came to be that I was his son. I'm obviously not a big black man, and I was a small white kid, and so the other drill instructors during the Crucible found out that I was allegedly his son, and so they took we because we're all like war painted out doing Crucible stuff. They took the black war paint and just like shoved it all over my face in a very uncomfortable way. So basically, I spent the entire Crucible um, with my face painted black with war paint, and so I didn't have the opportunity to strategically paint my face like everybody else did. My other drill instructors did it for me, and so like I said, that might not be a popular story based on you know events currently, but that's how it was, and things like that happen, and so like yeah, it is what it is. So take it for whatever you want. But basically, like because of those instances, because of those memories, and knowing that my senior drill instructor favored me, I stepped forward when he said, "If you think you deserve a promotion, step forward." I didn't think that I was anything special, but because I had those memories and I knew that I had some kind of favor with my senior drill instructor, I stepped forward. Um, he asked me and everybody else that stepped forward to justify why we thought we were, the ones that should be promoted. And I basically told him I put out and I led in every opportunity I was given. And, I basically just thought I don't know. I don't remember everything I said, but I know I called out the points that I knew he favored. And so ultimately I was able to get that promotion. And so not that you want to like enter boot camp to have your eyes set on a meritorious promotion, because then if it doesn't happen, you're going to be disappointed. But just know that if you're going into boot camp or really anywhere for that matter, do good things to get noticed. Work hard and put out so that your leadership your senior drill instructors or your drill instructors, they notice you for the good things and not the bad things. And I think that that's really the essence of the military, is just to put out, work hard, and you'll be rewarded. Even when you don't know those rewards exist, you may later find out that they do indeed exist. So, just keep in mind, as you start training and as you start your military career, that it's always better to put out and to put in the work and to exceed and excel no matter what you're doing. And even if you suck, like I did at drill, just own it. Like, you know, you can't be great at everything. You can be decent at a lot of things. But at the end of the day, I was okay with not being great at drill. And so I focused on what I was good at and what my strong suits were, and, kind of ignored and just did what I had to do for my weaknesses. And at that time, that was what worked for me. So after I graduated boot camp, I'll just kind of cut to the chase a little bit, because I know you guys are waiting to hear what job I did, because that's where I left it off last time. But basically, I ended up, you go home on 10 days of boot leave. After that, I went to MCT, Marine Combat Training, which I didn't know existed, that there was like a basically to catch everybody up that kind of fell out of cycle. There's potential that you get split up. So I actually got held back for 2 weeks just by luck of the cards. Ended up on Camp Guard, where basically it's called Fire Watch. You walk around this loop on Camp Geiger for 2 weeks in a reflective vest, and you're just like, quote unquote, security. But in reality, the only purpose is to make sure that there aren't any gaps. And so it's all about training and the cycles of training, ensuring that, the class sizes are the right size. So basically they just use this quote unquote Camp Geiger, Fire Watch team, whatever it was, Camp Guard team, just to kind of fill in those gaps and hold people where they need to be held, and just kind of keep that system running smoothly. So basically it was a lot of walking in large circles and sleeping and watching movies, if I remember correctly. Still didn't have our phones, still had very limited access to the outside world. And it was definitely a bummer not to go to, combat training with the friends that I made in boot camp. But, that's all right. You get to make new friends. So yeah, after that, at the end of Marine Combat Training, that is when you find out what your job is. And MCT was a blur. It was only a month long. I remember I enjoyed it a lot of shooting guns, a lot of, like all the cool stuff that you think about when you join the Marine Corps. And that was probably like the coolest month of my Marine Corps contract was, playing grunt, because I was a pogue and I never did that again. So I enjoyed it very much. And honestly, at times it made me wish that I did something a little bit more exciting in the Marine Corps. But with that said, what I did end up doing within my legal admin contract, I ended up as an aviation operations specialist, a 7041, where I ended up in Meridian, Mississippi for like 3 months in the middle of the summer. It was pretty brutal, but we will save that for next time. So thank you for tuning in. Really appreciate you guys. I don't even know if you want to hear my story, but if you do, and you enjoy kind of like hearing, who I am as the host of the show, and how I decided to, how I got here and how I decided to put this show together, then I'm glad that you find any value in it. I also want to know, I want feedback from you guys. So whether it be in a review or whether it be in, an email or direct message, let me know what your feedback is. Let me know what you would like to see on the show. I really want to incorporate, a question and answer kind of thing. So if you have a specific question that you want answered, I'd love to take a question and put it at the beginning of each episode. If that's something that interests you, let me know. I haven't thought of the best way to go about doing that. But I just want to make sure that I'm providing the value to you guys that you are looking for, and make sure that you are getting the most out of these episodes, because as much as I enjoy them, it is about you and helping you guys make the right moves and the right decisions for you and your career. So if that kind of Q&A type thing interests you, let me know via direct message or email, and I'll make it happen. So thanks again, guys. Thanks for tuning in, and I will see you guys next week, where I will have a fantastic guest for you. All right. Peace.